The angels have something important to tell you. What many call submission in you is, in fact, a conscious and powerful choice. The silence you have chosen to maintain, the distance you have created, are not signs of weakness. On the contrary, they are the greatest proofs of their strength. Those who once saw their calmness as resignation are now being forced to face something that scares them. They were never weak. They are beginning to realize that their courage is manifested in what they choose not to respond to, in what they decide not to accept. This attitude has bewildered and, at the same time, taught lessons that they never expected to learn. In this whirlwind that is the world around them, where everyone seems lost in their own conflicts, they maintain a serenity that intrigues and challenges. It is not a serenity that comes from giving up, but from the internal victory of someone who has chosen the path of peace. It is the strength of someone who observes, reflects, and acts only when necessary. Their posture confuses those who thought they could manipulate them or ignore their essence. It is not because they shouted their truth that they began to notice them, but because their quietness carries more weight than any speech could. What they are beginning to understand, albeit reluctantly, is that they did not step back, they chose to preserve themselves. This decision, which seemed like weakness to them, is now what forces them to look in the mirror and confront their own mistakes. It is uncomfortable for them, but it is also a moment of transformation. They never imagined that someone could be so strong without raising their voice. This is the impact they are causing, even without trying. By choosing silence, they allowed truths, once hidden, to come to light. Every word left unsaid, every gesture contained, was a strategic act of wisdom. They knew they didn't need to engage in unnecessary conflicts, that it wasn't their role to carry burdens that weren't theirs. The angels want them to know that this choice is shedding light on places that were once in the shadows. And even though they may not admit it openly yet, deep down they know that they were right from the beginning. It's impressive how the absence of words can speak so loudly. They now find themselves compelled to deal with their own mistakes, because they are no longer there to distract them from themselves. The strength they showed by not reacting impulsively, by stepping away without losing their essence, is something few can understand, let alone emulate. And that's precisely why it's so powerful. Their posture is like a constant reminder that true power lies not in noise, but in the firmness of knowing who they are. The angels show that, in this process, it's not just about what they are learning. It's also about what they are gaining. By choosing silence, they created space for their own peace to flourish. They took a step back, not to retreat, but to fortify themselves. Now, they realize that they never needed their validation to be who they are. That, to them, is both admirable and unsettling. They have become a presence as strong in their absences as they were in their presences. This strength that they carry, this light that radiates effortlessly, is teaching more than any confrontation could. The angels ask that they continue on this path, trusting the process, even when it may seem slow at times. Every gesture of theirs, every silence, is building something greater than they can imagine. And they, even if they don't admit it, are being transformed by it. Their light is undeniable, and it is leaving profound marks on those who have had the privilege of knowing them. Now more than ever, it's time to trust what they have built so far. The silence, the patience, the resilience, all of this serves a purpose. And the angels are by their side, guiding every step, ensuring that they are exactly where they need to be. Stay firm, knowing that the impact they have made will not be forgotten. Because, in the end, the truth always finds a way to emerge, and their strength is living proof of that. The angels show that, often, silence is more transformative than confrontation. The barriers they have built between them are starting to crumble, not because they directly challenged them, but because they chose not to feed into them. Now they feel uneasy, unable to ignore the truth that their silence has revealed. There is overwhelming beauty in the way they allow time to be their greatest ally. Every passing moment is an opportunity to rebuild their image in their minds, without lifting a finger. Some may say that silence is deafening, but in their case, it is revealing. Those who once judged their distance as weakness now see it as an act of unwavering strength. They are beginning to question their own actions, their hasty words, and the times they underestimated them. The angels show that, no matter how much they resist, something inside them is changing. They are seeing in them a strength that cannot be denied, even if it is never fully understood. Their distance, instead of emotionally driving them away, is creating a new and unexpected connection. The space you have created was necessary for them to see who they truly are. The angels show me that they now view you with new eyes, eyes of admiration and even regret. It's not easy for them to admit, but there is something about your demeanor that makes them uneasy. They never imagined that your silence could lead them to so many internal questioning. The apparent submission you displayed was, in fact, a conscious choice to protect your peace. The angels want you to know that this was an act of self-love, not weakness. You chose not to fight battles that were not yours, not to carry burdens that did not belong to you. And now they see it. Every gesture of yours, every seemingly insignificant step, has become a lesson of resilience for those who are used to only seeing the surface. As you stand firm, the angels reveal that there is a restlessness growing in the hearts of those who watched you with hasty glances. They who once confused your serenity with submission, now wonder how you can remain steady in situations that would have crumbled many. Your calmness was never a sign of conformism. On the contrary, it demonstrates a strength that only those who understand their own worth can sustain. They can no longer ignore. Every moment of your silence speaks louder than words could. You did not react to impulses, did not fall into the traps of chaos, and this forces them to see something they were unwilling to admit before. The angels show that deep down, they know they underestimated you. Every gesture of yours, no matter how small, had a greater purpose, even if it wasn't evident at the time. The space you chose to create by distancing yourself was not just any separation, but a necessary step to protect what you hold most dear, your peace. This distancing, which to them seemed like a definitive break, was actually a message of self-love. It was as if their soul said, I need to grow, and for that, I need to preserve myself. The angels want you to know that this decision is leaving marks on those who thought they could reduce you to a place of fragility. They are now beginning to realize that your strength lies not in asserting yourself, but in knowing exactly when and how to step back. And for them, this realization is uncomfortable. As you move forward at your own pace, they struggle to deal with what remains. The words left unsaid, the gazes you averted, all of this now echoes in their minds. They wonder how someone can carry so much impact without needing to raise their voice. Every movement of yours, even the most subtle ones, has become a constant reminder of all that you represent. And most intriguing is that this strength is challenging them to change, even if that was not part of their plan. The angels show that the energy around you is creating a space for transformation. Not only for you, but for all who have crossed your path. What once seemed like indifference is now recognized as courage. And as they watch, they begin to understand that you were never weak or lost. You were, and still are, rebuilding yourself. This process, which many confused with passivity, was actually the purest form of self-reliance. You chose not to carry burdens that were not yours, not to fight battles that didn't deserve your energy. And little by little, this is showing them something they may have never noticed. The true power lies in knowing where to invest your attention. Every choice you made was a reminder that your worth never depended on others' opinions. Now, they feel the impact of that as a truth that cannot be denied. The angels want you to know that their attitude was a lesson, even for those who tried to ignore it. The silence that once seemed insignificant has now become a mirror. They are forced to look within, confront their own choices, their own flaws. And that is something they never expected to face. Their ability to stand strong, even when everything around them seemed unstable, has left them speechless. And for them, that is the hardest lesson of all. Every step you took towards your own growth was another reminder that you are aligned with something much greater. The angels say that this path, although lonely at times, is filled with meaning. As you build your own peace, they deal with the consequences of underestimating someone with your strength. And even if they don't admit it, they feel an increasing admiration for all that you represent. This transformation is not just about what is happening around you. It is about what is happening within you. The angels show that you are entering a phase where everything starts to make sense. Those who once saw you as fragile now understand that you never needed external validation. Your light has always been strong enough to shine on its own. And now, they are beginning to see that clearly. Meanwhile, you continue to grow, to expand, to transform. The angels want you to know that the universe is aligned in your favor. Every choice you made with courage and self-love is creating a future that reflects everything you deserve. And although they may never fully understand, the impact you have caused will continue to reverberate. Your strength, your calmness, your decision to preserve yourself were, and always will be, your greatest victory. There is a discomfort in them, a feeling that something is out of place, and that something is the change that they personify. Their ability to move forward, without looking back with resentment, is what unsettles them. They did not apologize for being who they are, and that forces them to reflect on their own actions. The angels whisper that, in the silence of their nights, they revisit every word they said, every gesture they made. They know, even unconsciously, that they underestimated a strength they should never have ignored. The angels want you to know that this phase is essential for the awakening of those around you. The silence you have chosen was not an escape, but a way to protect yourself and at the same time to teach. Each of your steps resonates in their consciences as a reminder that strength is not in shouting, but in perseverance. And now, they are realizing how much they underestimated you. It is as if time were a lens adjusting their vision, revealing clearly what was previously distorted by pride. The walls they erected, thinking they would isolate you, have become prisons for their own regrets. While you move freely, even in silence, they are stuck in questioning how they got to this point. They wonder how someone who seemed so submissive could become so unwavering. The angels show that this discomfort is the beginning of an internal transformation for them. And it is your example that is causing this, even though you have not said a single word. Every restrained gesture, every glance you chose to turn away from, was a non-verbal message that you value yourself more than they imagined. The angels say that in their hearts, a respect that never existed before is beginning to grow. They know that they can no longer measure you by the same standards. Your apparent submission was, in fact, a conscious choice not to feed unnecessary conflicts. And now, this makes them feel small in front of your greatness. They who used to feel in control of the narrative, now find themselves lost in their own contradictions. It's as if the role has been reversed, and those who used to judge now seek their silent approval. The angels show that you, without realizing it, have become a mirror for them. And in this reflection, they see both their flaws and what they could become. You, even unintentionally, inspire them to seek something greater, something they may have never considered before. Their angels want you to know that every choice of yours, no matter how small it may seem, has an impact beyond what you can imagine. This silence they feared so much is, in fact, the most powerful form of communication you have ever used. They can no longer ignore the truth that your posture reveals. It's as if everything they tried to hide came to light, just by being in your presence. Your strength is breaking down the barriers they created to protect themselves from their own insecurities. This phase, although painful for them, is a gift from the universe to all involved. It's an opportunity for them to grow, to learn the value of empathy, patience, and respect. You, with your calmness, are teaching lessons that not even the greatest conflicts could convey. The angels show that this is not just an act of resistance, but of love. Love for oneself and indirectly, for those who still have much to learn. The angels want you to know that your silent choices are leaving deep marks, more than you imagine. Every moment you chose not to respond to the chaos, to maintain your serenity, was a display of strength that many around you did not expect. What was once seen as submission is now understood as courage, and this realization is unsettling those who observed you from afar, thinking they knew who you were. They are starting to see that in your silence, there was a strategy, a strength they underestimated. There is something powerful in the way they chose to preserve their peace. The angels show that their silence created a space where the truths that were hidden began to emerge. Those who used to hurt them with words or tried to diminish them, now find themselves in an uncomfortable place. They are being forced to reflect on their own actions. It's as if every gesture of theirs, or the lack thereof, has become a mirror. And what they see there is not easy to face. This impact goes far beyond what they would like to admit. They are starting to realize that the control they thought they had over the narrative was an illusion. Their silence was more powerful than any direct response could be. It was a way to leave them alone with their choices, and now, the energy around has shifted. What seemed to be a place of dominance for them is now a space of discomfort. And that, although painful for them, is a clear sign that they are on the right path. The angels want them to know that this transformation is happening because they chose not to get lost in unnecessary battles. They knew that some fights are not worth their energy, and they opted for something greater, self-control. This choice is something they cannot fully understand, because for many, strength is loud. But what they have shown is that true strength lies in the ability to stand firm without needing to justify or react. This is a lesson they are learning now. Every silence of theirs was an affirmation of who they are. Not a surrender, but a statement that they would not allow anyone to take away their peace. And the angels show that this choice is forcing those around them to change as well. Not because they force them, but because the energy they carry leaves no room for the same old dynamics. They are being challenged to see them in a different way, and this is transforming everything. Meanwhile, they continue to move forward, strengthened by their own choices. The angels say that what is happening now is just the beginning of something much greater. Those who once tried to hurt or control them are realizing that they never had the power they thought they had. They have always been free, even when they tried to confine them in judgments or expectations. And now, this freedom is becoming visible to everyone. There is discomfort in the hearts of those who underestimated them. They can no longer ignore the impact that their silent presence has had on their lives. The angels show that, even if they don't say it out loud, there is a growing admiration for everything they represent. They see in them something they would like to have, the ability to remain true to themselves, even amidst chaos. And although this admiration is accompanied by regret, it is also a sign that real changes are taking place. The angels want them to know that this phase of transformation is not just for others. It's for them too. They are being strengthened by every choice they made, by every moment they decided to prioritize their peace above all. And while others face the consequences of their actions, they are being guided towards something greater, something that reflects their worth. This journey is not just about the past, it's about the bright future ahead of them. Keep trusting yourself, because the angels are by their side, ensuring that every step they took was necessary. The impact of their actions, even the most silent ones, will continue to grow. And those who once underestimated them now carry in their hearts the certainty that they never fully understood who they were. Now they know. And this truth, although hard for them, is a testimony to how powerful they have always been. This is not just a phase of reflection for others, but a moment of celebration for you. Because in the end, they proved that true power doesn't need to be explained, it simply exists. And they are living proof of that. The distance they chose is also prompting a re-evaluation in their hearts. They wonder how they managed to step back without losing their essence, how they continued to radiate light even from afar. The void their absence left is a constant reminder of the value they have always possessed. The angels want them to know that this space is necessary for them to understand what they truly lost. And although the pain of realization is great, it is also an opportunity for learning and growth. Their apparent submission has become a symbol of something greater, the ability to transform pain into wisdom. They chose the harder path, but also the most rewarding one, by trusting time to align all things. The angels say that this path of calm and patience is beginning to bear fruit. Those who once judged them now begin to admire them, even if silently. They realize that their strength does not lie in words or impulsive actions, but in the depth of their spirit. Every time they chose silence over confrontation, they were taking a step towards their own freedom. This emotional and spiritual freedom is something they can no longer ignore. The angels show that, to them, this is confusing and at the same time, inspiring. They never imagined that someone could demonstrate so much power without raising their voice, without demanding anything. Now they begin to understand that true power comes from within, and not from external circumstances. The angels reveal that the lessons you are teaching are deep and eternal. Even without words, their presence has become a guide for those who previously did not appreciate their essence. They see in you something they lack: balance, faith, and a strong heart. The contrast between what they believed to be submission and what they now recognize as strength is overwhelming. They are being led to question not only their attitudes towards you, but also the way they live their own lives. Your silence and distance created a space for the truth to emerge, and this truth is illuminating everything. The angels show that every gesture of yours, no matter how small it may have seemed, was a brick in the construction of something grand. Those who once tried to dim your light now realize that it was never something they could control. Your strength is innate, divine, and beyond the reach of any human judgment. Now they are learning, the hard way, the true meaning of respect. Meanwhile, you continue to tread your path with serenity and determination. The angels whisper that, even if you don't realize it, you are inspiring profound changes around you. Your example of resilience and self-control is creating ripples that spread far beyond what your eyes can see. They are beginning to recognize that you are not just a strong person, but also a symbol of transformation. This realization is altering the dynamics between you in a way that neither of you could have foreseen. The angels want you to know that what is to come will be even more revealing. As they grapple with their own emotions and regrets, they will continue to grow. Every step you take towards your own purpose is a reminder to them that true strength lies in authenticity. They are being led to see what has always been in front of their eyes, but they never had the courage to acknowledge. And in this process, their souls are being touched in ways that will transform everything. This transformation is not just about them, but also about you. The angels say that your courage to step back and preserve your peace has opened doors that once seemed unattainable. Now, you are reaping the fruits of your patience and faith. They may not admit openly, but they feel your absence as a void that cannot be filled. This is proof that your light was, and always will be, indispensable. And even though you have moved on, the impact of your presence remains engraved in their hearts. The angels are saying that, at this moment, the impact of your absence is impossible to ignore. Those who once judged you, who interpreted your silence as empty, now feel the weight of that emptiness. It's as if every choice they made, every word they said, is coming back to them with a force they never imagined. And amidst it all, what unsettles them the most is the strength you have shown. A strength they didn't understand before, and that has now become impossible to ignore. You chose not to fight battles that were not theirs, not to get involved in conflicts that did not add value. And that choice, which seemed so simple, changed everything around them. They can no longer look at you without questioning their own actions. The silence they kept was like a seed, planted in the soil of their emotions. And now it is growing, forcing them to see things they have avoided for so long. This is uncomfortable for them, but it is exactly what needed to happen. The angels show that every gesture of theirs, every word they chose not to say, has become a mirror. And what they see in that reflection is not always easy to face. Their own insecurities, fears, and contradictions are exposed. They are beginning to realize that the issue was never with them, but with the way they chose to see them. And this is causing a shift, even if they don't want to admit it. The truth is that their calmness has forced them to look at themselves. There is something in their demeanor that disarms them. They did not react as expected, did not engage in the game they created. And now, they don't know how to deal with it. Their presence, even when distant, continues to have an impact. The angels reveal that this is leading some of them to question everything they thought they knew about them, and more importantly, about themselves. They see in them something that is lacking in themselves, a confidence they do not know how to achieve. This process is not easy for those on the other side. They feel the discomfort of not being able to fit you into a narrative of weakness or submission. What they see now is strength. And this strength is not loud, it is not something that demands attention. It is silent, but absolutely undeniable. They are starting to understand that their decision not to react was, in fact, an act of courage. And although this challenges them, it also inspires them. The angels say that the space you created by distancing yourself was essential, not only for their own peace, but for them to have the chance to see things as they really are. That distancing, which they may have interpreted as coldness, was actually an act of self-love. You knew you couldn't keep carrying the weight of something that wasn't yours. And now, they are realizing how powerful that choice was. Each passing day, they miss you more. Not just as a presence, but as that silent strength that filled the spaces around. They are beginning to understand that you didn't need to say anything to be heard. Your decision to prioritize yourself spoke louder than any words could. And even though they are still trying to process this, they can no longer deny the impact you had, and continue to have. The angels want you to know that what is happening now is preparation for something greater. You are reaping the fruits of your choices, while they are just starting to plant the seeds of reflection. They feel uncomfortable because you no longer fit into the limited view they had of you. And this discomfort is pushing them towards changes they never imagined making. Keep on this path, because your strength is guiding more than just yourself. The angels show that your example is impacting even those who seemed unreachable. They can no longer ignore what you represent. And although this process is difficult for them, it is also necessary. You are being a light, even unintentionally. And that light is illuminating paths they are afraid to tread, but know they need to follow. What they did was more than preserving themselves. It was to show them, and themselves, that true strength lies in knowing when it's time to step back. The angels want you to be certain of this. Your calmness, your silence, your choice to move forward were, and still are, the greatest acts of courage. And slowly, they are realizing this. Not because you forced them, but because your own essence is leading them to this truth. And that is something that will never be forgotten. The distance you created, far from being an act of weakness, was a demonstration of your inner strength. By choosing to preserve your peace, you also set boundaries that can no longer be crossed. The angels whisper that this was the greatest gift you could give yourself, and now they are beginning to see it too. They realize that your worth was never in your proximity, but in your authenticity. Every time they try to forget you, they are pulled back by the lessons that your absence continues to teach. The angels want you to know that this transformation that is taking place is a reflection of your spiritual evolution. By choosing silence as a response, You made room for the universe to work in your favor. The energy you released by not reacting impulsively is now creating waves of change. Those who once felt in control now face the reality that they never truly had it. Your resilience is a constant reminder that true power comes from within. They who once judged your distance as indifference now feel the depth of your choice. It's as if everything they believed had crumbled, and the truth is emerging for the first time. The angels show that this realization, although painful, is necessary for their growth. Your silence was not an abandonment, but an opportunity for everyone to reflect on what truly matters. And now, they are beginning to understand this, even if slowly. Every gesture you made with patience and self-love continues to echo in the hearts of those who watched you. The angels say that, for them, it is hard to accept how much they underestimated you. But this pain is the beginning of a healing process that goes far beyond what you can see. Their strength forces them to confront their own weaknesses, and this is transforming them. There is no longer any denying it. You have become a point of reference, even without saying anything directly. The silence that once seemed insignificant has now become a constant reminder of your presence. They see you in every moment of reflection, in every pause they take to reconsider their actions. The angels show that this is just the beginning of a deeper transformation. Your inner strength has become a mirror, and they can no longer ignore what they see reflected in it. It is a journey of self-discovery that was initiated by your courage to step away. While they struggle to understand what happened, you continue to grow and strengthen. The angels want you to know that this is the path that has always been meant for you. Your choice to move forward, to not dwell on the past, is what makes you so unique. And even if they don't admit it, they know that your absence is a reflection of everything they need to work on within themselves. The impact of your actions is opening doors that were once closed. The angels show that what you are experiencing now is part of a larger plan. Every choice you made, every silence, was guided by a divine force that knew exactly what was needed. And now, the universe is aligning to bring you the rewards you deserve. Those who once underestimated you are being forced to re-evaluate everything they believed. You have become an example of strength, resilience, and authenticity that they never expected to find. The distancing that seemed to be a weakness is now recognized as their greatest strength. They see in you something they have never seen before, something that inspires them to want to be better. And this is just the beginning. The angels say that the changes happening around you are only reflections of the internal changes they have already experienced. Keep walking with the same serenity and determination. The best is yet to come, and they, though reluctant, know that you have always been one step ahead. The angels want you to know that the phase unfolding is filled with deep meanings. Your journey so far has not been in vain, and every decision you made, even the hardest ones, was essential for the growth of everyone involved. Now, as you move forward with confidence, those who underestimated you face an awakening they never imagined. They slowly realize that what they considered weakness was, in fact, an act of courage and wisdom. Your strength inspires them, even though they still struggle to admit it. The impact of your choices continues to resonate in the hearts of those who thought they could ignore your essence. They see in you something that is missing in themselves, an unwavering ability to stay true to who you are. The angels reveal that in your silence, you have created an energy that has transformed the environment around you. This energy, though subtle, is powerful enough to touch even the hardest of hearts. And now, the transformation they avoided has become inevitable. The path they chose to follow, even amidst misunderstanding, has proven to be the truest. Their light, once ignored or underestimated, now stands out in clear contrast to the darkness of others' doubts and insecurities. The angels say that every moment of silence was an affirmation of their strength. Every step taken away from conflict was an act of self-love. And now, everyone around them is forced to see it. There is no denying the change they have brought about. Every decision they made calmly and resiliently opened doors to new opportunities and connections. The angels want them to know that the universe is conspiring to align everything in their favor. They who once saw their silence as submission, now realize the depth of their strategy. They understand that they don't need to prove themselves to anyone, because their presence alone is already an affirmation of their worth. This realization is something that will transform them forever. While others face their own reflections and regrets, they are stronger than ever. The angels show that, for them, this is a moment of silent celebration. Every battle they chose not to fight was a victory in itself. And now, as the universe aligns new blessings in their path, those who underestimated them look at them with admiration and respect. They finally understand that they could never define them, because they have always been beyond their limited perceptions. The angels show that this transformation is only the beginning of something even greater. Their journey of self-discovery and growth is inspiring others to look within themselves. And although the impact of their choices is more visible now, the fruits of this process will continue to emerge for a long time. They have become a symbol of strength, not only for those who underestimated them, but for all who have the privilege of crossing their path. This is the power of their light. The future that the angels reveal to you is full of possibilities. They say that the silence you have kept up to now will no longer be necessary, because the respect you have earned will speak for itself. The barriers that once restricted you have been broken, and now you are free to be everything you were always meant to be. Those who once tried to dim your light now become witnesses to your greatness. They can no longer ignore what has always been right in front of their eyes. The angels ask you to keep trusting the process, even if the changes still seem slow. Everything is unfolding exactly as it should, and the rewards of your patience are already starting to appear. Those who doubted you now watch you with reverence, trying to learn from your example. And while this does not erase the past, it is a powerful reminder that your strength has never gone unnoticed. You have been, and always will be, a source of inspiration. As you move forward, the angels are preparing new paths and opportunities for you. They say that the impact you have made is just a reflection of what is yet to come. Keep walking with confidence, knowing that your light is guiding not only yourself but also those around you. The angels are by your side, celebrating every step you take towards your purpose. And though the journey has not always been easy, it has always been worthwhile. Finally, the angels ask you to celebrate the present moment. What you have achieved so far is a reflection of your inner strength and your connection to the divine. Every choice you have made has been an act of faith, and now you are reaping the fruits of your courage. Keep being the light you have always been, knowing that the universe is constantly conspiring in your favor. The angels are with you, today and always, guiding every step and illuminating every path you choose to tread.